Hello, dear listener. I'm your host, Hike. And today my guest is a content and communications expert with almost 20 years of experience in the MENA region. Ben, tell me who you are and what you do.
Thank you very much, Hike. I am the MD and founder of Hivemind Creative Marketing, a communications and content lab that provides customers with a direct source to reach their tailored audiences through integrated communications, in particular PR, social media, cost-effective content, and advertising avenues.
How did you end up having an agency like that?
I have been running companies and local entities, some satellite offices for brands like UBM, which is PR Newswire, some integrated communication companies originally from the UK. I saw that what many people missed in the market was the understanding of how to communicate their global message to a localized audience. So I felt there were a lot of people who were not doing this correctly, a lot of people who were simply giving lip service to brands and not creating the strong marketing campaigns that they could do through either inexperience or lack of care. I wanted to set up a company that handheld clients where you meet the senior individuals who will actually work on your account and fulfill the main problem I think people have, which is paying for marketing services that they never seem to get, and they're over-promised and under-delivered.
But how did you even end up in communications? How did it all start?
So I was originally sales. So when I first came to the UAE in 2007, I was real estate sales for about a year. From there, I pivoted into a sales and marketing role within PR Newswire. So with UBM, one of the leading global media entities, this gave me a great insight into what the market was requiring from both a brand and an agency perspective. And I just found myself really enjoying that and progressed more into the agency side from there. And the variety and the positivity that you find in particular in the UAE with brands having a very can-do attitude really makes every day very unique, very special and easy to work.
And what would you mark as the main challenge you had after arriving to the UAE and transitioning to the communications field? Like, give me a story of that.
Brands coming from different areas globally have different base requirements from their mother company, their brand, their experience. A British company coming to the market would have a different method than a US originating brand would be coming to the UAE market. Regional powerhouses will have more understanding, let's say, of Arabic audience mentality, habits, trends than people who are coming in here totally fresh, if you like. So I think the biggest difficulty is understanding the variety of different cultures, voices, styles, trends, even things like festive seasons. You have such a wide variety that you need to be aware of. And the UAE really is a microcosm for global marketing, in my opinion.
Is there a specific story that you remember from you moving to UAE until the moment that you launched the agency that affected your professional development?
Good question. I think there have been a number of really interesting and exciting campaigns, projects, and brands that I've worked on. However, one of my favorites is, I would say my entire journey at UBM, which was PR Newswire at the time, heading like a small satellite office. I was at 25, promoted to be the head of the MENA region, reporting into a vast UK office. Everyone in the office based in the Middle East was older than myself. So let's say at a young age, being put into a position where not only did we have a number of large international clients, big brands, automotive, communications, we had agencies like Asda utilizing our services. And not only that, but you also have the administration side. So I would say the career experience I best remember is that experience, which was almost entrepreneurship at a young age. So from that age, it gave me the understanding and ability to balance client management, team management, the internal, the external, how to be creative and put your thought process at the right time into creating that great campaign, be in the space with that team training and inform higher ups of what was happening. So probably my favorite experience, if you like, as opposed to, there's been a number of really cool client campaigns, everything from giant concerts, working on comedians like Russell Peters, through to launching fantastic restaurant brands, hotels. W Hotel in Doha, for example, being a great experience of mine. Working in the Web3 and FinTech space is always really exciting things. But yeah, initial management experience really stuck with me.
That's a large portfolio. Hotels, restaurants, Web3.
Yeah, and this is the feature I find in the Middle East, particularly in marketing and comms. There's very few really super niche entities that exist even across the region due to population size. Now, the UAE is probably like 11, 12 million, but a fraction of that are who you're communicating to for any certain campaign. If you go to the UK for interior design, there's 15, 20 different professional media outlets, plus a number of other individuals, bloggers, social media influencers who you could communicate to. There's a lot more niche in other areas. Here, everything, I think 75% of the media landscape here, for example, is lifestyle, daily news. So in the GCC in particular, you do need to understand that your global messaging may not be perfectly adapted for the region. So you need to take obviously the key parts of it, adapt it into a message that everyone could understand across a multitude of different ethnicities, cultures, languages, etc., and really maximize into a generalized way of wording your message. As opposed to, if you want to be FinTech in North America, you can be very specific, very technical, very detailed, and there will be a large number of people, probably, hundreds of thousands, if not maybe several million, who can understand that specific language and wording. You need to really dissect and simplify your message when speaking in the GCC in particular, and again, adapting that across your different MENA markets. You're talking to North Africa, you're talking in a multitude of English, Arabic, French, even like certain dialects, maybe in certain locations, depending on how specific that message is. Even your Arabic in the GCC will change if you're talking to a purely Saudi audience versus maybe an Arab expat or generalized Arabic audience as well. It's all something to consider in your approach.
So from what I hear, if a brand was successful in another big market or with great footfall and with many eyes, doesn't necessarily mean, and probably almost doesn't mean, that they will have the same success in the MENA region unless they consider everything that you have just mentioned. And that takes me to my next question about the agency and the problem you're helping solve with it.
Yeah, I think there's three main problems that we solve, and I've touched upon these gently before. Education. So communicating effectively in the right message, in the right manner to the right people seems really simple, but many people don't do it. Engagement, making sure that you're resonating with the relevant audience. We focus on you have ROI, which is how your marketing and media spend is being allocated. We also focus on ROE, so return on engagement, which is how effective is the wording, how effective is that visual, and empowerment. So empowerment is going that extra mile, not simply CSR. And I think there's a lot of people who pay lip service to CSR, but people who genuinely put passion into their community. So anything really that helps your community can also be part of it. It doesn't have to be a huge global campaign. Everyone has a CSR level that they can reach to. So education, engagement, and empowerment, these are the three ways that we approach solving our client problems.
And are there any specific types of clients you're working with?
So the categories of client that we typically move are Web3, FinTech, particularly PayTech, hospitality, inclusive in that F&B, so independent venue along with hotels, and events. However, we've had experience across many different verticals. The great thing about the UAE is the outcome, the result is the main aim. So if you consistently show results, you consistently expand into new territories, into new verticals, and that's always exciting.
Tell me about the blockers that you face. Like, what was the recent problem you faced with a maybe major client, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, great question. So I think the three main blockers, which are super consistent across any entity in the UAE, right? So this is not purely us, but you should speak to most agencies across social media, PR, content. You could be niche, boutique, you could be large. There are many, particularly government clients, who have a vested interest in consistency and maybe global reach. So how big your team is or how many offices you have globally is always a question asked. That's always a potential barrier for anyone who is not, a 30, 40 global office agency. Number two, I would say language ability. So we are very good actually, and we do not ignore Arabic audience, which again, many people do in MENA, in GCC specifically. You do come to markets like the UAE and everyone's speaking English, and all of a sudden it feels very anglicized, and the approach, you kind of forget that there's, a communication culture that existed long before this. And number three, I think, is the budget. So simply based on the volume of people in the market, budgets sometimes do not match the expectations. So again, comparing it to a North American market, you have a population of 340, 350 million. So if you're talking how much money Coca-Cola will be allocating towards a campaign in one state, even, it's going to be probably a similar amount to what maybe a whole country would have in the GCC or MENA region.
Throughout the years of working on the agency and with different clients, you definitely had many ups and downs. And I'd really love to know one of each. One of your top achievements and one of the fails, maybe.
Okay. I think so in terms of the fails, I would use the phrase maybe missed opportunities. Mm-hmm. And in fact, tying this into one campaign for both a high and a low, a recent one actually, working with Badaya Media and Mubadala in November last year, we had Mansour the Festival, which is a locally created IP. We sold out 30,000 tickets. We had people coming from as far away as Saudi, physically driving there. Tickets were sold out very early each day. It was a totally packed event with accolades. We won Guinness World Record Awards for the largest ball pit in the world, and everyone has had a great time. So that'll be one of my highs. And then you have the low, which is sometimes a campaign doesn't necessarily hit as you expect it to. So it's the ability of the agency to pivot and to handle those challenges that makes marketing so interesting and experts in the field so unique.
Then what are you trying to achieve with the agency at this point?
And it's a good question. So what are we trying to achieve with the agency? We're trying to achieve a scenario where people not only benefit from their marketing from a brand perspective, but also from a sales perspective. We're aiming to achieve a relatively small network of brands who are looking for senior direction, senior support, senior management on their accounts, not simply how is the most affordable way that we can tackle this problem. We're looking for brands that want to act global, speak local, and create a partnership between us and the customers that we work with. So an example of this would be large holding companies, trading groups, or investment groups. Examples of some of these could be Al Futtaim, Majid Al Futtaim. Working alongside partners like this brings our expertise into play to a client who would have a great need, who may have 20 different agencies where they need one. Mm-hmm. Spending money does not necessarily make great marketing. So we're looking for people who understand that the thought process behind something is of more value. The integrity and the purpose of a campaign is more important than the budget necessarily behind it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's pretty clear. I want to know the single thing you've learned throughout the whole journey of your professional experience that you would like to share. The single most important thing you would like to share.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The single most important thing that I would like to share is your individual approach, manner, and style will have great value to select individuals and brands. Mm-hmm. So do not cookie cutter or copy paste into what you think people would want from your campaign and approach. Mm-hmm. Work on finding the brands where your approach works well.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for the insights shared. Leave your questions for Ben in the comments. We'll drop links to connect with Ben in the description, and I'll see you in the next episode.